Hey DIYers, today we're working on a 2019 Chevy Silverado, and we need to put a load lifter on there. A friend of mine, when they haul their camper, haul stuff in the back, sags pretty bad, so they want to put a little assist on there. So we're putting on the load lifter 5000. There's everything that comes in the box, and right there's the number for the 19 GM 1500. That's what we're doing right there. And pretty simple setup, but I don't know, we'll see how long it takes me. I'll let you know how long it did take at the very end. Of course, we're setting up cameras and everything else, so hey, let's get busy, let's get something done. Let's go. All right, so before we get it up on the lift, I kind of want to see what happens. As you can already tell, it kind of looks like we got kind of a little bit of load. We can obviously see we got stuff in the back, but I measured the front. They were at 36 and a half. We're at 36 in the back. So obviously we're kind of hanging down just a little bit in the back, but we're going to see what these do a little bit. Of course, we won't be able to test them with the camper or anything like that, but we'll get these things installed. We all know that they work, so let's get this up on the lift, and then we'll look underneath, see what we got to do. All right, so here we go. Of course, we know that this is where this is going to sit. The new airbag are going to set right here on this perch right here, and we got to get rid of the old bump stops that are here. That are in the way. I believe it's a 10, my little wobbly stupid thing here I got. 10 millimeter on this ratchet. If I can get my fingers and stuff out of the way and turn it the right way. There we go. Well, may have to go back to the old manual. All right, shut it down. There we go. Okay. Got the bump stop out. We're good to go with that. All right, so up here is the bracket for the brake lines that come in. Once you put this in, that's going to kind of be in the way a little bit. So I believe they provided us with new bolts that go up here, and there's two 13 millimeter bolts that hold this in place. So right there, these two bolts here will come out. And these brake lines are rigid, so I don't think they're gonna, well, I know they're not gonna go anywhere, so they can hang there for a second while you get the new stuff set up. There we go. So yeah, that'll just hang there for a minute. All right, so drop them on the floor. If you really like them, you drop them on the floor. But bolts, washer, so he goes through the outside, put the new one in there, and then again the front one, the bolt, spacer, and right back into those clip nuts that are on there, and then we can get it started. So there we go. We got those started. Now we got a brake line. This brake line right here, since we do have the load lifter in there, it does need to come down. So there's a little spacer that comes here on the other side. Let me grab that for you real quick. All right, so here's the spacer right here. And all it is you're going to take out the bolt that's holding that bracket in now, and you're just going to put this in and move the brake line down just a little bit. So I'm going to grab another 13 millimeter to loosen that up. So right here. And then if I can get my head out of the way, right here, so this is actually going to come down just a little bit. So you're going to put this back in. It's got to go above that. So I'm just going to start it with my fingers, And then I'm gonna go get the nut and bolt that'll go in down here and hold that down. It only changes about an inch, but I think that'll make a difference. Yep. All right, so new bolt, and that nut is gonna have to slide right up behind here. Actually, let me just do it this way. Pull that down here, stick that nut in there. Or actually, that's the bolt. This is the nut. Nice thing is that nut does have a nylon locker on the back of it, so it's not gonna come out once you get it tightened down. My Wreck-It Ralph hands are not the best, but we get it in there. There we go. Okay, got that started. There we go. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put these together. Dish on here. These are our countersink screws here, and it goes, I believe, to the outside. I believe this one, hold on. Gotta make sure I'm looking at this the right way. This is the front, because we're doing the driver's side, and this needs to set towards the outside. So I believe this one needs to be over here, and it needs to be like that. Then this will set in there like this. That makes this on the outside of the vehicle, and then we can kind of flip this over, because if you can see, you got to put that bolt in there, because if you don't, you can't get it in later. So we can put in these I don't know, what do you call them, beveled or recessed bolts that go in here. Tighten those up. I can line it all up. And then Allen wrench, it is a 7/32. Tighten those down. Like that. We can flip this back over. Set it over here just for a second. You're fine there. And then we need the top piece here, and this way it'll set so that is on the outside edge. Yeah, I got that set right. No, sorry, like that. My bad. And then we'll line those up. Then your top bracket here will set on over the top of that. But first, don't forget to put this in. This is your air inlet. You can kind of start it by hand. The plate will fit right over the top of it. So we can kind of spin this down a little bit. And the one thing the instructions do say is make sure that this is not, you can't have it exceed, it doesn't go any more than 7/8 of an inch over the top of here. So you can get your tape measure out and check that out. It's pretty easy to get to that point. And then we got these are fine threaded that go on here. Then you can see how this kind of just all kind of sets together just like that. We can put our bolts down in here, like that. Washer and lock washer on here like that. And I'm going to get this all tightened up and ready to go, and then I'll show you how we get it pushed back up into the on the axle. All right, so we got them all set up here. I had to go back and look at a couple of things to make sure that they were set up the correct way. They are exact replicas of one another, except for the fact that your air line is going to be going to the outside. So as you can see here, this actually, let me flip them around the other way, because this is the way they set in there. And what do you know? I've still already screwed this up. So I actually need to rotate this one back around the other way. Or this one. No, they're both wrong.
Wouldn't you just flip them? Put that one on that side and that one on this side?
Yes. Yes. Gosh. Man, it's a good thing I got a good cameraman back there, because I'm getting frustrated with this, and it's simple. So, okay, we're good. We're still good. The one things you need to remember when you're putting it together is this bolt's got to go in there first. It is opposite of this chamfer that's on this side, and of course, those bolts that go in the bottom are in the bottom here. They have these set up in here also. I wish they didn't have them. They'd just make them more confusing, but I think these plates are probably used for many different applications. So they don't have to make 15 different ones. So here we are. This is the setup. Here's our driver's side. Here's our passenger side. Lines are to the outside. We should be good to go and put them in. So let's take them over to the truck and see if we can get them pushed up in there, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. No. Oh, okay, we are going. All right, so this mount goes on the front of here. So here's your perch up here, or your block where the bag is going to set. There is some little protector that runs across the front here. A T45 is kind of what we need to loosen these bolts on here. My T45 is pretty beat up. Yeah, my T45 is really beat up. But this bracket needs to go in and underneath here. So I need to loosen that so I can get that underneath there. And then this bracket will it's just kind of laying there loosely until we get the new setup pulled up into here. So let me go see if I can find a different T45. All right, so now we get this a little loosened up here, and then hopefully we can get that to flip around inside of there. Might need to loosen this one up too. There it goes. There you go. So that is going to just set in there like that for the time being until we can get this mounted back up in here. This is part of the block here to hold hold everything in place. So let me go grab the bag and see if we can get it pushed in there. All right, so from what I've seen, the easiest is to go this way with it and to get it up in here. And then, like I said, that little block right there, now that it's going to set right into that slot that's right there. Hopefully you guys can see that. That's set right down on top of there, just like that. Now, of course, we're probably 6 inches away from this thing actually setting on here. So what we'll do is that once this thing, we put some weight on this, we'll push that back down and we'll be able to mount this back to the frame. There are already holes that are already up here in the frame that we get to mount this, or not holes to here. There's U-bolts that go on here that this mounts to. So, and those go into those holes that are right here. Hopefully you can see those right there. Mm-hmm. So I got to get those U-bolts, get those pulled up over the frame, and then we can start kind of putting this into place and getting it mounted. All right, so we got our U-bolts. They need to go all the way up and over the top right here, like that. And that's why we pulled this bracket out, to make sure that that has room for that.
Hold on.
There we go.
Just hang in there?
So they're going to hang in there for right now. We do have bolts that are supposed to go down in here, and we're going to put the bolt in that front piece right here that we just put that flange in there. We're going to put a bolt in there. We're just not going to tighten it completely down. We're just going to put it in there loosely so that we can get everything set up. And then we're going to put a couple stands in here, and then it'll push the axle back up, and we'll be able to get everything tied together. All right, so we're gonna go to the other side before we lower everything back down, so we just don't have to go up and down a whole bunch of times. So we're gonna go ahead and take the rubber bump stop off. We're gonna go ahead and mount the brake line, and then we'll get the new one set in here and put the U-bolts over the top and get that all set up so that we can lower this down and then tighten everything up on here all at one time. So let me get going on this. All right, so we got the brake line relocated, we got the bump stop off. Putting this thing in, I tell you what, I had to take all these bolts out of here in order to get that thing in there. I don't know why that was such a pain. And man, I tell you, I think that's why those are notched right there, because the passenger side is just gonna miss the shock. So I'm gonna go grab the other bags, or bag, one singular bag. Here we go. And then we should be able to bring this one up here, kind of weave it back and forth into place like that. And I believe I don't have this one placed right, guys, because as you can see, here's this plate here. You can see the disc for the bottom of the bag is actually hitting the spring. So it needs to be shifted, it needs to be to the inner. And I do not have it that way. So if I pull this down, so you guys can see I screwed that up. I need to have this moved over here.
You want to go do that?
So I'm going to get that switched out and bring you right back.
It's really well.
Okay. All right, so now putting this back up in here. Get that set. And now, yes. Now look how much, now you can see we have room on the side now to get that mounted in the right spot. These look like they're all going to line up much better. So now, all we need to do now, we need to get the U-bolts and get those put in. Oh, okay, so right here, yeah, now you can see, here's the U-bolts coming, dropping down in here. You can miss that electrical line here going on the inside. So they're both kind of lined up here. So everything should be squared up. We're going to grab the other bracket that goes here on the back, and we're just going to loosely put that into place also. And then, yeah, let me get those brackets and I'll show you those go on there. All right, so here, this is that other bracket that's in there. Like I said, we already put that one in there because that one gets, kind of locked into place there. Now, with that brake line kind of pulled down out of the way, we can roll that up into place. And if you stick too much stuff in your hands, then we can go ahead and we'll tighten this one up. Like I say, we're just gonna finger tight that one. Stick another carriage bolt on the other side. It should line up on that side. We'll tighten this one up. My big hand's in the way. There you go, you can kind of maybe see that. Get that one rolled up there. So like I say, we're still loosey-goosey, but then we'll stick one in the front through this bracket that we put up here in the front. Go to the other side. So then that bolt should be able to drop down, get it locked into place, and then we're just going to stick a nut onto there. There we go. Now these are kind of just loosely into place. We're going to put some weight on the axle, and then we should be able to, once we get the weight on the axle, just push this whole thing up, and then we'll get these lined up, get those pulled in there, and then we should be good on those.
Do you need to tighten that bar down to begin with that you untightened?
This one here?
Yeah.
We'll tighten everything up at the end. So this right now, we don't want this to interfere with making sure this tightens down tight.
Okay.
And then we'll make some adjustments or whatever we need to do to get these lined up later.
Okay.
All right, now that we got some support on here and we've kind of compressed everything down, now we can go ahead and get the U-bolt that we put up there. We got them through the bracket, and we can start putting them on. Unfortunately, we'll have to get a wrench to tighten these up, but we'll go around, we'll get these all snugged in here, and then I'll show you when we get these all tightened up, what it looks like. All right, so looks like we got everything all tightened up. I went ahead and pulled everything down. You can see how the bags are kind of stretched out a little bit, and that's fine. That's totally normal. But now we need to get the airlines ran. We did elect to put them in the back. So they do give you one line here. So you want to kind of line up your two ends that you're going to use, stretch them all the way out, get to the end here, and then we're just going to cut it with a nice sharp knife right here. So we have that total length to be able to do this and get to the back. So I'll get that done. So when you go to put these in, let me separate these out here. There we go. So those elbows I put in earlier, they're just a slide in and they will couple. So once you slide it in, you can't pull them back out. The collar, if you need to take them out, you can push the collar in. If you've ever done any like shark bite fittings, like for plumbing or something like that, they're very similar to that, where you can pull the collar back in and it'll release the line. So these are the kind of the same, and you got to kind of map out kind of where you want to put them to make sure that you're up out of any moving parts or anything that's hot or anything like that, to make sure that we're not going to bother the line and it'll work freely. So I'm going to reach up in here, find where that elbow is, line up the line, and then just push it in. There it goes. And once you'll feel the initial push it in, and then it goes just like a quarter of an inch further. Once you push it in, you can kind of pull on it a little bit. Yep, it's not coming out. So now we can kind of figure out where we want to put these. I'm going to start by running it right over the top of the frame right away to get it up and out of the way. Do that, get it twisted around, pulled up, just like that. And then just try to select kind of where they would look good. I'm going to take it up and even over the bed. There's some, of course the bed's not perfectly flat, so I'm going to use some of that area up there to help me keep it way up there and out of the way. We'll come back. It does give you some zip lines or some zip ties to put this on. And once we get it all the way back here to the back, then we can, then we're gonna kind of figure out where we want to run it through the, and try and get the dust and everything else knocked down into your mouth, because that's awesome. Get it up through here, there it is. All right. So once we get it all the way back here, we got, like I said, I have plenty of line. We will probably tidy this up and shorten it up a little bit. They give you plenty. So the one thing we are going to opt for is here towards the back where we bring both lines over. We are going to put a T in, so we only have to fill up one, and it's going to be consistent filling up the bags on both sides at the same time, rather than trying to fill one up, putting 20 pounds of air in. Oh, now I got 25, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So now we're just going to have one of these straighter valves sticking out the back here by the license plate, and we'll be good to go. So the kit does not come with that T, so I'm going to actually run to the store, get that T, and then yeah, we'll get things hooked up in their back. So gotta go to the store. Yep, back at Menards again, because that's where I always go. So
Do you need to?
all right, 1/4 inch T's. I think we're ready to go. It's a good way to put in. Okay, just got back running back from Menards, but this is what we got to do. We went ahead and cut these off because we're gonna put in the T. The T I got tucked up in here, so way up out of the way, and you're not gonna be able to see it. It's right there. All right, so, and we elected to, like I said, do one schrader, and we're gonna come through right here. And so all I did was I just was taking my hand, kind of reaching over to see where my hand was, figure out where everything was, where the plug is, make sure nothing's back here behind here, and right here in the center is where I'm gonna put it right there. So if I grab my drill, this is a 5/16 drill bit for them to go through, and should be right there. Yeah, I do have some metal to drill through here too, but just making sure that I don't hit anything as I'm pushing through. There we go. So now they come with, let me grab the nut. So kind of go through and kind of set up where you want that at. It goes hex nut, star washer, and I'm gonna go ahead and reach up in here. If I can find where I'm supposed to be at again. Can't remember how I got my hand there before. Yeah, you want to try and find that best spot so you're not getting, like I said, you don't want to get anything else tied up in what you're doing. Here it comes, there we go. All right, so then once that is through, it goes rubber washer. And I tell you what, that rubber washer on there is going to hold it right where we need it. Then we put on a flat washer and then the other hex nut that will hold this into place. So I'm going to get this put on here, then we'll get the line cut, and then we can get, we can actually test this thing out. So I'll show you when we get back on the ground. All right, guys. Got everything down. We're ready to go. We were at 36 and a half. Is that right? Look at my numbers again. We were actually at 36 before when I measured on the side. We are now at 37. So just putting the bags on themselves. I did not put any air in it at all. Just putting the bags on themselves. They're already putting some support on there already. So we've aired up the compressor. Like I said, right here's my little schrader, and I'm going to hook this up. And wow, just that little bit. There's 11 pounds of air. You can see this thing already coming up. So there's So there's 25. I got 25 pounds of air in it. And you can see that thing coming up. So I'm going to put the cap on this, and then we'll go over here on the side, and we're going to remeasure this thing here again. So let's go check it out. All right, so here we are. We started out at 36, put the bags on, we're at 37. We put 25 pounds of air in, and we're at 38. There's a bunch of stuff already here in the back, so we've already got some weight on it. But I tell you what, this is already looking pretty good. It doesn't take much, and everything seems to be holding up great. And hey, we're going to show this another project that we're done with. All right, so that's going to do it for that Chevy truck that we did, and I got the airbags on there. But hey, don't forget, make sure you do an air test and spray some soapy water on those joints and everything. We did have a little bit of issue with them. It was actually the elbow itself. We took it out, tried to rethread it or put new tape and stuff on it to try and reseal it. Didn't work. We ended up having to take it back to the place where we got the bags from, got a new elbow, put it back on, had to take the whole thing apart, but it's working now. We're all good. They're down the road. It's been a few days. Haven't heard anything back from them. They're working out great. So hope this helps you out. Sorry it was such a long video, but there's just a lot of little things going on. Hope you like it. We'll see you guys next time. Later.